If you could only own one ETF for the next 10, 20, or 30 years, should it be VOO? For many Americans, the answer might be yes, but not because VOO is magical, not because it never drops, and definitely not because it solves every financial problem. VOO is powerful for a much more boring reason. It is simple, low cost, easy to understand, and gives investors exposure to some of the largest companies in America. But before you treat it like the only ETF you will ever need, you need to understand what VOO actually owns, where it works, where it fails, and why it can still be risky in 2026. VOO looks simple from the outside, and that is part of the appeal. You buy one ETF and you get exposure to the S&P 500. Clean, easy, boring. But simple does not mean you should buy it blindly. VOO is not just the market. It is not equally spread across every American company. And it is not a complete financial plan. It is a specific tool with a specific job. So before we decide whether VOO is the one ETF most Americans should own, we need to slow down and ask a better question. What are you actually buying when you buy VOO? VOO is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. In simple terms, it is an ETF that tracks the S&P 500, which includes about 500 leading large-cap U.S. companies. So when you buy VOO, you are not buying one company. You are buying a basket of large American companies in one fund. That makes it much easier than trying to choose individual stocks one by one. For beginners, this is the key idea. VOO is not a stock pick. It is index exposure. For intermediate and advanced investors, the next layer matters too. VOO is market cap weighted, and that detail changes how the fund behaves. Buying one individual stock means your result depends heavily on one company. If that company performs well, great. If it disappoints, your portfolio can suffer badly. VOO reduces that single company risk by spreading exposure across hundreds of large U.S. companies. That is a major advantage. But notice the word reduces. It does not remove risk. VOO can still drop when the market drops. VOO can still go through bear markets. VOO can still feel painful to hold when headlines are ugly. So the real benefit is not that VOO makes investing risk-free. The real benefit is that it removes the need to bet your future on one company being right. VOO became powerful because it is built around a very simple idea. Own a low-cost fund that tracks a major U.S. stock index and hold it long enough for compounding to matter. That sounds boring, but boring is the point. VOO does not require you to read every earnings report. It does not require you to guess which sector will dominate next month. It does not require you to trade every week. The power is not complexity. The power is simplicity, low cost, broad large cap exposure, and the ability to stay consistent. And for most investors, consistency beats cleverness more often than they want to admit. The best way to think about VOO is as a potential core holding. Not decoration, not a side bet, not something you add because the ticker is popular. A core holding is the part of the portfolio that does the heavy lifting. It gives the portfolio a foundation. For many Americans, VOO can play that role because it gives exposure to large U.S. companies in a simple structure. But there is a difference between saying VOO can be the center and saying VOO should be the whole system. That distinction matters because a strong core can still need support around it. One of the biggest benefits of VOO is that it helps investors stop guessing winners. Instead of asking, should I buy this one stock or that one stock, VOO lets you own the index. You do not need to know which company will dominate the next decade. You do not need to predict every earnings cycle. You do not need to be smarter than Wall Street. And that is the quiet genius of index investing. VOO is not about proving you're smarter than the market. It's about accepting that most investors do not need to be. Sometimes the smartest move is not trying to outsmart everything. Sometimes the smartest move is owning the system. Another reason VOO is useful is that the index evolves over time. The S&P 500 is not a frozen list of companies. Companies can grow. companies can shrink, weights can change. Some companies become more important to the index, while others become less important. This means VOO gives you exposure to an evolving group of major U.S. businesses. That does not mean the index always gets everything right, and it does not mean every company inside it is amazing. But it does mean you are not manually trying to rebuild the portfolio every time the market changes. The index does some of that structural work for you. Now we need to talk about the part many beginners miss. VOO may hold around 500 companies, but that does not mean each company has the same impact. VOO is market cap weighted. That means the biggest companies get the biggest weights. If a mega cap company grows larger, it can become a larger part of the index. If a smaller company is included, it may still have a tiny impact on the ETF. So yes, VOO is diversified, but it is not equally balanced. This is where simple investors need to become thoughtful investors, because owning 500 companies sounds very different from understanding how much influence the biggest companies actually have. Mega caps matter inside VOO a lot. When the largest companies perform well, they can pull the ETF higher. When they struggle, they can pressure the whole fund. That is not necessarily a flaw. It is how market cap weighted indexes are designed. The winners become bigger. The larger companies get more influence, but this creates a risk investors should not ignore. If the biggest companies become very expensive, very crowded, or too dominant in the index, VOO can become more concentrated than people realize. So the critical view is this: VOO is diversified across many companies, but it is still heavily shaped by the largest U.S. large-cap stocks. This brings us to the classic comparison: VOO versus VTI. VOO tracks the S&P 500. VTI tracks the total U.S. stock market. VOO focuses on large-cap U.S. companies. VTI includes those large companies too, but also reaches further into mid-cap and small-cap stocks. So this is not a fight where one is smart and the other is dumb. Both can be reasonable choices. VOO is cleaner if you want direct S&P 500 exposure. VTI is broader if you want more of the total U.S. market. The real question is not which ticker sounds better. The real question is what role you want inside the portfolio. The mistake is not owning VOO. The mistake is owning VOO, VTI, SPY, and several similar funds without understanding the overlap. Many investors think more tickers means more diversification. But if the funds hold many of the same large U.S. companies, you may not be as diversified as you think. Owning VOO and VTI together is not automatically wrong, but owning both by accident is a problem. Before adding another ETF, ask what it actually changes. Does it add a new asset class, a new region, a new risk profile? Or is it just another version of what you already own? That question keeps the portfolio clean. And this is exactly the kind of thinking we focus on at Boring Money Wins. Not hype, not panic, not chasing whatever ticker is trending this week. Clear frameworks, simple investing, long-term discipline. If this kind of no-hype investing breakdown is useful, subscribe to the channel, because the goal here is not to make investing sound more complicated than it needs to be. The goal is to make the important parts easier to understand and harder to mess up. Now that we understand what VOO is, how it works, and where the overlap risk comes from, let's get practical. Where does VOO actually fit in a real portfolio? VOO needs a job. That sounds obvious, but it is where many portfolios go wrong. Some investors buy VOO because they heard it is good. Then they buy other ETFs because they heard those are good too. Soon they have a portfolio full of good products but no clear structure. VOO works best when you know what it's supposed to do. In many portfolios, its job is U.S. large-cap growth exposure. It can be the core, it can be the foundation, but it should not be a random extra position sitting next to 5 other funds doing almost the same thing. A good ETF still needs a clear purpose. In a Roth IRA or taxable brokerage account, an investor may be able to buy VOO directly. But in a 401k, the exact ticker may not be available. Instead, you might see an S&P 500 index fund or a large cap index fund. And that is fine. The ticker can change while the role stays the same. That is an important mindset shift. Do not only search for the letters VOO. Look for the exposure. Is it tracking the S&P 500? Is it low cost? Does it give the portfolio the U.S. large-cap core role you need? That is how you think like a portfolio builder instead of a ticker collector. Now let's look at 3 educational examples. The simplest model is 100% VOO. This is maximum simplicity. One ETF, one core exposure, no complicated allocation. For some investors with a long time horizon and high risk tolerance, this kind of simplicity can be attractive, but it has trade-offs. There is no international stock exposure, there are no bonds, there is no dedicated income strategy, there is no small cap tilt. So 100% VOO can be simple, but simple does not mean complete for everyone. The real question is whether that simplicity matches the investor's actual goal, timeline, and emotional tolerance. A more balanced example might use VOO as the core, but not the entire portfolio. For example, 70% VOO, 20% international stocks, and 10% bonds. This keeps VOO as the main engine of growth while adding some global diversification and a small stabilizing bond position. This does not make the portfolio perfect, no allocation does, but it shows the idea. VOO can be the center without being the whole machine. That is a more flexible way to think about it. Instead of asking, should I own VOO or not, ask, how much VOO fits inside the total plan? That is a better portfolio question. For someone closer to retirement, the allocation might look very different. VOO can still be important, but stability may become more important too. A pre-retirement example could be 50% VOO, 20% international stocks, and 30% bonds or fixed income. This reduces growth exposure compared to the aggressive model, but it may also reduce volatility. And that trade-off can be valuable when the investor has less time to recover from major market declines. The key lesson is simple. As the goal changes, the allocation should change. VOO may be great, but the percentage matters. A great ETF in the wrong allocation can still create the wrong portfolio. VOO is not for every goal. If you need the money soon, VOO may be too volatile. If you are close to retirement and cannot handle large drawdowns, 100% VOO may be too aggressive. If you already own multiple large-cap U.S. funds, adding more VOO may just increase exposure you already have. If you want global diversification, VOO alone does not provide it. And if you need income stability, VOO alone may not be enough. This does not make VOO bad. It makes the analysis honest. A great ETF can still be wrong for the wrong job. And that is why the next question matters more than the ticker. The right question is not simply, is VOO good? A better question is, good for what? What is the goal? What is the time horizon? How much volatility can the investor actually handle? What else is already inside the portfolio? Can the investor hold it during a painful market? That last question is underrated. Many people can hold VOO when the market is going up. The real test is whether they can hold it when the market falls and everyone online starts predicting disaster. That is where boring investing becomes difficult. Because the ETF may be simple, but investor behavior is not always simple. There are 5 common mistakes investors make with VOO. First, expecting it to never drop. Second, selling in panic during a bear market. Third, duplicating exposure by buying several ETFs that do almost the same thing. Fourth, using short-term money that should not be in stocks at all. And fifth, comparing VOO to hype stocks and deciding it is too boring. But VOO is boring on purpose. It is not designed to entertain you. It is not designed to make every month exciting. It is designed to give simple exposure to a major part of the U.S. stock market. If you use it like a trading toy, you're using the wrong tool for the wrong job. VOO can drop too. That sentence sounds obvious, but many investors forget it during bull markets. When the market has been strong, people start treating index funds like they are safe savings accounts. They're not. VOO owns stocks, and stocks are volatile. There will be drawdowns. There will be scary headlines. There will be periods where the portfolio feels uncomfortable. The ETF is simple. Holding it is the hard part. That is why understanding the role matters so much. If you know why you own VOO, it is easier to stay disciplined when the price moves against you. If you only bought it because someone said it was the best ETF, panic becomes much easier. So, what is the balanced verdict on VOO in 2026? VOO can absolutely be one of the most important ETFs for many American investors. It is simple. It is low cost, it gives exposure to large U.S. companies. It can work as a powerful portfolio core, but it is not perfect. It is large cap focused, it is market cap weighted, it can become heavily influenced by mega cap stocks. It does not give full international diversification. It does not replace bonds, it does not replace an emergency fund, and it is not personalized financial advice. So yes, VOO may be the one ETF many Americans should understand first, but understanding it is the key word. The reason VOO works for many people is not because it is exciting. It works because it is boring enough to hold, simple enough to understand, cheap enough to keep, broad enough to matter, and disciplined enough to fit inside a long-term plan. But the investors still have to do the hard part. Keep funding the plan. Avoid panic. Avoid unnecessary overlap. Avoid chasing every new shiny idea. And remember that a simple portfolio is only powerful if you can actually stick with it. That is the boring part, and that is the winning part. Because boring money usually wins, not because it is exciting, but because boring money usually survives.